Hello everyone, my name is Kinari Sonamne. Welcome to the session on pivot table. Pivot table is a feature in Excel which helps us to summarize the data. It helps us to change the extensive entries of rows and columns into a meaningful presentation. Pivot table enables us to monitor or present the data by ignoring some unwanted fields as well as calculating or operating the required fields. You'll find the option of pivot table in Insert tab of the toolbar. Here is a drop-down menu which allows you to select the representation of your data in the format of a pivot table or a pivot chart. Let's get started with an example for displaying a data in form of pivot table. So this is a data set of COVID-19. It has the entries of total confirmed cases with the Indian nationalities, total confirmed cases with the foreign nationalities, cured, discharged, or migrated patients, the latitude and the longitude of the patients. This data is with respect to date and number of states or union territories. So let's click on Insert and click on Pivot Table. We have to select the range of the table. You have to select the range of the data for which you want to create a pivot table. So you'll select the entire data set. So you can see the range. This is the name of the sheet which is open, and this is the range, the starting and the ending point of the data. You can also use an external data source. Now second one is choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed. So we'll select on new worksheet and you click on OK. A new sheet opens up with a section for pivot table and the section of pivot table field list. This section consists of the lists of all the columns available in the selected data. Plus there are subsections named as report filter, column labels, row labels, and values. Now, if we want to summarize the data with respect to states, name of state and union territories, this gets assigned to the row labels. So the entries of whichever states are mentioned in the data gets organized with respect to rows. You can sort or filter these rows. You can select them. When you click on this drop down menu in front of the row labels, you can sort them in ascending or descending values. You can label the filters. You can add some conditions according to the requirement. These conditions basically can be used for numeric data. You have values filters as well. Next is the selection criteria. The selection options allows you to add a filter for the states which you want to be considered for the display of data. As for now, we'll keep it select all. Click on OK. It is the user's choice. If the users want to know the death, you can select the death. So now this gives you an account of the number of deaths in the state. Second, you want to know the total number of confirmed cases. Change the order. You can drag and drop the field wherever you want. So first let us have the total of confirmed cases. We have added two fields in the tab of values, that is sum of total cases confirmed and sum of deaths. So this will give you the number of total confirmed cases and deaths in the states, their respective states. So you drag and drop the date field in the report filter tab And you see an additional row gets assigned to the date field, and here in the second column it has an option of all. So now if you select a particular date, let's say 31st of January 2020, click on OK. So it will show that on 31st January 2020, Kerala had confirmed one case and the death in the state of Kerala was 0. It will give the data of entries made on 31st of January 2020. You can also select multiple options, but then it will be confusing. You won't get an account of entries made on a specific date. Let's try this for a second date. Let's try this for some other date. Let's make it 28th April 2020. So on 28th April, these states had given the account of total number of confirmed cases and deaths respectively. So you can say there is a filter for date, and you display or you present the entire data set with respect to number of total confirmed cases and the number of deaths in the states. You can change the parameters according to your choice. It can be number of confirmed cases with the Indian nationality, total number of confirmed cases with foreign nationality, and so on. You can also get an account of cured or discharged or migrated patients. So this will help you summarize the data of the patients according to the dates and state. So this was the example of presenting a data of COVID-19 with the help of pivot table. We will now move on to our next example. So our next example is of a data set which consists of invoice IDs, branches, the cities where the branches are located, the type of customers, the genders of the customers, the product line in which the customer had carried out the transaction in, the cost of a unit, the quantity bought by the customer, the tax paid by the customer, the total, the date on which the transaction was carried out, the time, the type of payment made by the customer, the gross margin in terms of percentage, the gross income, and the ratings given by the customer. So this is the data of a supermarket sales. It has various categories in it. It has various fields. So there are various categories on which you would like to process or create a presentation of the data. So you can use the pivot table for this. We'll try to display it using pivot table. Click on pivot table. You have to select the range. Make sure your range is for the entire data set. Don't leave any of your columns or entries. Yeah. So we have selected the entire data. We'll place our pivot table report in the new worksheet. Click on OK. Let's try to monitor the gross income of the branches available. So once you select on branches, you will see 3 branches appear, A, B, and C. So the gross income gets assigned to values. Here you can, there is an option for value field setting from which you can select the various options, that is sum, count, average, max, min, product, standard deviation, variance, etc. So now if you want to have an idea of the maximum income made by these branches, you click on max and you click on OK. So here you'll be able to figure out the maximum value of gross income made by these branches. Let's keep it as sum of gross income. So yeah, here you go. The next part is you can add, there is an option. Now you can see whenever you are displaying the data with the help of pivot table, a new section appears on your toolbar, that is pivot table tools. It has two sections, that is options and design. When you can click on design and you can change the layout of your pivot table. You can, let's make it this way. So it has differentiation for columns. You have an option of report layout. So there are different options you can select on: show in compact, show in outline form, show in tabular form. So that depends on the user completely. In the options, you have a tool called as insert slicer. When you click on insert slicer, this slicer concept works where the data is in format of different categories. So now if you select on customer type, or let's say gender, and let's say product line, you can click on OK. So there will be three slicers for you. You can also change the layout of these slicers. This is easily available. Once you insert a slicer, the toolbar gets converted to the formatting of inserted slicer. So you can like select the layout as per your choice. You can change it. Let's just keep it normal for now, but you can use these options to change the dimensions of the buttons, change the dimensions of the slicer. It creates an interactive format for the selection of data, for the processing of data. Pivot table is of gross income of the branches A, B, and C. Let's keep product line as our first priority, customer type as our second priority, and gender as on third priority. So this pivot table is a summary of gross income of the branches. So now you want to know the gross income with respect to the product line of say fashion accessories, but you want it to be more precise. You want to know that which type of customers adds to the gross income of those branches, that is those which are the members of the branches or the normal customers. So if we select on members, the pivot table will give an account of the gross income made by the members in product line of fashion accessories with respect to the branches A, B, and C. But now you also want to have a insight of the gender, which gender like adds to your gross income. So you can target that area of your customers. So you can select on female, you can see the gross income. You can select on male and you can see the gross income. So on comparative basis, you can analyze that female gender in the customer type of members, the females who are members of the branches gives so and so income in the product line of fashion accessories. So this combination of pivot table with the slicers for product line, customer type, gender can give you an account of the target areas for your customers. You can then try to increase the income of your branch accordingly. So this was an example of displaying the sale of a supermarket with the help of pivot table with respect to the product lines, customer type, genders, etc. This will help the user to get an idea of the type of customers he or she needs to target to increase the sale of the supermarket. We will now move on to our next example. This example has the data for the candidates of elections. It has columns such as state, the constituencies of the respective states, the name of the candidates, winner, party, gender, age, category, education, etc. We'll present this data with the help of pivot chart. You have to select the range of data for which you have to summarize. So let's just select the data and we have to select the location for the chart and pivot table to be placed. We'll keep it new worksheet. Click on OK. A new sheet opens up and you see there are three sections. First is for pivot table, second is for pivot chart, and third one is for the pivot table field list. Now we'll select the fields to be considered for our pivot table. Let's consider age. We'll add the age in the values section and we'll try to figure out the minimum value of the age. So you'll see the minimum age available in the entire data is 25. So let's get it back in the rows label. We have to create a groups for the age column. Click on the entry. You right click on it. You see there's an option for group. Click on that. This dialog box appears which is auto-tuned with the data. It gives us the starting point of the data, gives us the ending point of the data, and it gives us the difference by which we want to create a group. So let's say 10. Click on OK and you will see there are groups created for this. So now we have to get an account of winners across these age groups. So we'll select the field of winners. So you'll see the data is getting displayed in form of chart directly. This is not it. You want the information of winners with respect to the state and the constituency. So as discussed in the earlier example, we will insert slicer for this example. Click on insert slicer. Click on state and constituency so that it will give you the freedom to select. Otherwise, the chart would be very complicated for us to understand. So these are the two slicers. Once you select the state from the slicer over here, the constituency for the respective states remain active. Other constituencies get deactivated because these slicers are interconnected because of the categories. So let's click on Andaman and Nicobar and you will see the constituency Andaman and Nicobar is active. Other constituencies are deactivated. Even if you click, it is not gonna work. It will show a blank chart. So be very specific about your selection. Once you select Andaman and Nicobar from the state, you have to make sure you select the constituency assigned to it from the slicer. So you will get a chart for age groups and the winners. We'll select another state and its constituency. You'll get the chart for that. Let's make this a bit more complicated. We'll add another field to this chart, to this report, that is total votes. So now the pivot table is based on the age group, winners, and total votes from a state and its constituency. We can change the layout of this chart. Go to design, select this, which will give you a precise count of our data. You can also change its presentation. You can also change its design layout. So yes, this is a pivot table for age groups, the winners, and the total count of votes with respect to the states and their constituencies. This entire information is displayed in a form of a chart. So if you select a particular state and its constituency, you'll get an account of the winners and the votes across the age groups from the respective states. So this was all about the session on pivot table. We covered three examples. The first example was of COVID data. We learned the basics of displaying the data using pivot table. The second example was of supermarket sales, where we learned the use of slicers. And third one was the data of candidates for elections, where we presented the data using pivot chart. I hope you understood all the three examples. You can explore all the features of pivot table and pivot chart and implement them to create meaningful presentations of out of the extensive data. I hope this session was helpful for you. Thank you.